The southeast coast of the U.S. has felt the massive destructive power of Hurricane Helene, a hurricane that, by all accounts, has been responsible for the most death by a hurricane in the last century here in the United States. The loss of life and the destruction is just unspeakable and heartbreaking, and the emotional pain and trauma on an individual scale is absolutely horrific. It is at that kind of time that people find themselves asking, why, God? If you are all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-loving, why did you allow this to happen? These questions have been asked throughout known history, and for many, the answers elude them. And for many others, it has led to bitterness and unbelief. The scripture are not unaware of tragedy, pain, and catastrophe. It is found everywhere in the Bible, and the book of Job is a case study on the subject. It is there we read in Job chapter 1, verses 20 and 21, "Then Job arose, tore his robe, and shaved his head, and he fell to the ground and worshipped. And he said, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return there. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." And the personal tragedies did not end there for Job. We might ask ourselves, how could he say that? And what did he know about God that allowed him to rest in the providence of God like that? This takes us back to the age-old question, where did evil, pain, and suffering really come from? The Apostle Paul references this answer to the question when he confronts the suffering of contemporary life and its consummation found in the hope of the second coming and the resurrection. We read about that in Romans 8, verses 18 through 25. Let me read it for you. "For I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory that is to be revealed to us. For the creation waits with eager longing for the revealing of the Son of God. For the creation was subjected to futility, not willingly, but because of him who subjected it, in hope that the creation itself will be set free from its bondage to corruption and obtain the freedom of the glory of the children of God. For we know that the whole of creation has been groaning together in the pains of childbirth until now. And not only the creation, but we ourselves who have the first fruits of the Spirit groan inwardly as we wait eagerly for the adoption as sons, the redemption of our bodies. For in this hope we were saved. Now hope that is seen is not hope, but who hopes for what he sees? But if we hope for what we do not see, we wait for it in patience." You see, the whole of creation groans under the curse of sin. And we see this in the description of the fall in Genesis chapter 3, verses 15 through 19. There has been nothing as catastrophic, not even Hurricane Helene, as the consequences of sin, and the whole of creation is under its curse, including man. And when God created the universe, he declared all that he created as good 12 times in Genesis chapters 1 and 2. It was when Adam and Eve sinned that cast the whole of creation into entropy and decay, death, because of the catastrophic consequences of their sin. And of course, the Bible calls that the fall. But the good news is that there is hope in the finished work of Jesus Christ. And Paul, in our passage, points to that. Notice in verses 18 through 21, where he says, For I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory that is to be revealed to us. For the creation waits with eager longing for the revealing of the sons of God. For the creation was subjected to futility, not willingly, but because of him who subjected it, in hope that the creation itself will be set free from its bondage to corruption and obtain the freedom of the glory of the children of God. And for the believer in the saving work of Jesus Christ, we also groan, waiting for that future restoration in the resurrection. We read about that again in verse 23. And not only the creation, but we ourselves who have the first fruits of the Spirit groan inwardly as we wait eagerly for the adoption as sons, the redemption of the bodies. God, in his love, through the perfect sacrifice of Jesus, his Son, has provided a hope that extends throughout all eternity of what God has intended in his creation from the beginning, even more glorious. The chaos, the evil, and the tragedies we experience in this age are the result of sin and our continued sin. The world isn't ultimately getting worse due to climate change, but rather the evil and sin of men. Creation's hope lies in the restoration at the second coming of Christ, and our hope lies in that saving grace that was provided at the cross of Calvary by a loving Father who sent his Son on our behalf to pay the penalty of our sin. The Apostle Paul puts it this way in 2 Corinthians 5:21. For our sakes he made him to be sin who knew no sin, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God.